Hello everyone and welcome to Franchise Focus. I'm your host, Lisa Linkowsky. I am the owner of Milestone Franchising and I am a franchise consultant. And Franchise Focus is all about talking with leaders in the franchise space, talking with franchise owners to tell their stories about how they got into franchising and what that experience has been like for them, and then talking with experts such as lawyers and CPAs and real estate brokers, et cetera, those people that help to make the franchise experience what it should be. So today, you get me all to yourself, and I'm going to talk about things that I hear on a regular basis, almost daily, that people ask of me. So I compiled some questions and I thought, you know what, let's have a show and talk about these questions that seem to be on everyone's minds whenever I meet with them. So thanks so much for tuning in. So the first thing we're going to talk about is what's franchising. I talk about this word so often that I take it for granted that people just automatically know what it is that I'm talking about. And franchising is another way of owning a business. So I hear, is this a multi-level marketing concept? No. Is this, how is this different from the chains that are out there? Is it really entrepreneurship? Those are some questions that I get. And this would be the answer that I would have back for people. So when someone has an interest in owning a business, but they don't have their own concept in mind, but they want to be a business owner and they don't know how to get started, franchising is a great way for them to enter into business ownership. And there's arguments. Well, is it really entrepreneurship because you're not creating the whole thing from beginning to end? And I would say it's quasi-entrepreneurship because you still are running that business. Someone else is already lifted that heavy work for you. They've created the logo, they've created the brand, they've created this proven concept that they know is profitable, that they've created a profitable concept. And now they've put together this process in place that they can replicate and have you walk in and have this profitable business as well. That's really what franchising is. It's another term is called a turnkey business, where you can just turn the key, theoretically, walk in and make this business happen. But is it that easy? Is it that, where you just don't need any experience, you don't need any formal training, you don't need an MBA? Yes and no. With everything, there is gray, right? So for being a business owner, you've got to have some business experience. It helps. Does everyone? No. There are teachers out there right now that have left the teaching profession. I've interviewed them on this show. And they came in and they are running a franchise and they're doing exceptional. Then there are people that came into my system when I was a franchise owner that had incredible experience, incredible resume, and they did not work out. So then you say, well, Lisa, what does that mean? How does this work then? And what it comes down to is, what is your overall passion for this concept that you decide to get into? What is your resilience? And I'm going to use that word resilience because right now we've got a lot going on in this economy, right? We just came out of 2 years of an exceptionally bumpy time. And we've got bumpy roads ahead of us. And as a business owner, you're always going to have that bumpy time. You're going to have those extreme highs and those extreme lows. Doesn't matter. Franchise or entrepreneurship does not matter. That is the cost of being a business owner. So having that ability to be able to have that intestinal fortitude, to be able to stomach those low lows, and then have those exhilarating highs, that's already a good, you're on your way just from there. But then there's the foundation. And franchising gives you a much more solid foundation. because someone else has already created this concept. Someone else has already proven that this can be done for you. That's a lot different than some entrepreneur who sat there and toiled over something and then decided to hang their, sign out, and nothing happens and it flames out, right? Or they're wildly successful, right? So not everything works, even in franchising. There are franchises that never get up and running. So then the question becomes, well, how I'm going to invest money, Lisa. I'm looking to invest a portion of my retirement account or my life savings, and how do you guarantee this? I can't, right? I'm a franchise consultant. I have no guarantees. I make no financial claims. So am I a tarot card reader? No. I work with people to understand whether or not they have what it takes, number one, because not everyone does. So I'm working with people to say, do you have all of these things that I'm looking for and that a franchise system is looking for? And yes, there's a good business portion I'm looking for, and I give an assessment, and that assessment shows how strong someone is with their executive leadership. And it shows, how strong their financial, background is and their HR management skills. But I also look for that business development piece, that overall interest in business, because as a business owner, you have your hand in several different spots at all times. And you have to kind of be aware of that. And there's juggling that's involved. So I'm looking for someone that is a lot more well-rounded, because to me, that's going to be much more beneficial and a better match. And then on the back end, I belong to the International Franchise Professionals Group, IFPG. It's a broker network, one of the big five, voted 3 years in a row best broker network in the country by the franchise systems themselves. And they bring in inventory for me to look at and for me to share with my candidates. And they offer webinars where I get to sit on these webinars and learn about these concepts and really dive in to see and understand what this concept is all about. And some are amazing. Some I sit there going, wow, this is a great concept. Others, I'm like, I'm not too sure about this. And others, I may have a bias immediately and go, I can't show this. I don't understand it, or I don't get it, or they don't have their act together, or something that they've said I'm not comfortable with. Who knows what it is? And so I push it over there. Because I have so many others. Over 500 concepts that I represent of 4,000 franchises that are out there. So I can easily take one and push it aside and not have to worry about that. So now I'm sitting there and I'm looking at my candidates and I'm looking at their background, understanding what it is that they are coming to this table with and why. What is driving them? What's driving them to seek someone like me out? What's driving them to want to own a business? And today, coming out of the last 2 years, it is all about change, destiny, wanting to make your own path. I hear over and over and over and over again, I'm tired of helping others set their financial success for themselves, and I want to start doing it for myself. Okay, great. So sitting there and putting all of these variables together, educating, which is one of the reasons why I do this show, educating, making sure that they're fully aware of what it is that they're getting themselves into, and then putting that match together, and then staying with them throughout to question and poke holes and see where are they and how is this matching up everything that they wanted. That's being a consultative person, right? Not just sitting there and slamming a concept at them and, hoping for the best and moving on to the next person. So that first question was, what is franchising? And then I also covered what a franchise consultant does. So 2 for 1 right in there. A question that I get daily that I now joke that I need to take a shot, and it happens to be water every time I get asked this question, or else I'd be underneath my desk in my office, is what's your favorite franchise? I get that all the time. And my response back is, I don't have one. How can I? It doesn't matter. I'm not the one that's going to be running this franchise. So I can love something all day long. But if I don't have the right candidate to match with that concept, I can't show it. And I have franchisors that I've placed candidates with, and they reach out to me and say, Lisa, I'm not feeling the love. You haven't given us anyone. You haven't sent anyone over for a territory check. What's going on? And I say, I'm sorry, I just have not found people that align with your concept. Your concept's great. It just doesn't match the pipeline that I currently have right now. Hopefully I will at some time in the future. But Lisa, what's your favorite? Come on, what's your favorite? And what I'll say, again, is I'm conservative in my personal financial dealings, and I'm even more conservative when I'm working with candidates whose trust they've put into my hands. And so my favorite concepts that I love to show are things that are needs-based, things that were needed yesterday, things that are needed today, and things that will continue to be needed in the future. That, to me, is critical. Because trying to follow trends and run after them, trends change, trends flame out, and you're already behind the curve. By the time you hear about a trend, it's already sailing in the wind. Think about the stock market. The people that get really wealthy in the stock market are the ones that have that inside tip about a great stock. And by the time people like me come along, that stock is already, $500. And I'm going, oh, here's, I'd like to purchase one stock, please. Well, it's the same thing with trends. That by the time regular people hear about that trend, the majority of people have already jumped on that bandwagon. They've gotten everything that they need out of it. They're going to ride that wave, and then they're going to bail and jump off before that trend hits the wall. Well, my clients can't afford to do that. They don't want to sit there and just jump in and jump out. They're looking at this possibly into, riding this into the retirement, the retirement age. They don't have the time or the patience or the ability to sit there and figure out, okay, now I've got to jump out of this right away. I've got to jump out and not miss my mark. So they're looking for something that at their due time that they can say, okay, I'm ready now. I'm ready to pass the torch for my business on to their general manager who's done a fabulous job, or to a family member who has expressed interest, or working with a broker to sell the business. But it's a process, just as in franchising, everything is a process that takes time. It could take up to 2 years to sell a business. It's not happening on a dime. And with a trend, you got to get in, get out. So I don't chase trends. No interest. I'm looking for things that are staid, that are test proven and will continue to be. So that answers that question. When we come back, we're going to answer more questions that I receive on a regular basis after a word from our sponsors. Are you part of the Great Resignation? Are you a business owner that would like to diversify your business holdings? Have you always had an entrepreneurial itch but did not have a concept to get you started? Milestone Franchising represents over 500 franchise concepts across 30 industries. Concepts range from $20,000 to $6 million, and they can be home-based, office-based, mobile, or brick and mortar. We guide you through the process to select which concept is best for you based upon your core competencies, your interests, and your financials. Milestone Franchising is part of the International Franchise Professionals Group, IFPG, and will bring a host of resources to assist you in your quest for business ownership. When you work with a certified franchise consultant, you gain access to a professional process that helps you succeed in your search for the right placement. Finding the best placement for you within the franchising world of 4,000 concepts is the objective. Matching your skills and goals with a culture that fits you best is the priority. For a free consultation, visit our website at milestonefranchising.com. Milestone Franchising is here to lead you in a new direction. Welcome back to Franchise Focus. I'm your host, Lisa Linkowsky. And before the commercial break, we were talking about questions that I get asked all the time as a franchise consultant. And so we ran through, what is a franchise? What does a franchise consultant do? And what's my favorite franchise? So those were the things that we covered before the break. So now I'm going to go into another area that I get asked on a fairly regular basis, which is, Lisa, do you help a business franchise? I hear that a lot. And I don't. That's not something that I do. I am a matchmaker for people that are interested in getting into a franchise. However, that doesn't mean that I can't talk to someone or I can't kind of give them some guidance, because I am in this world and I've interviewed some pretty great people that help do franchise development, and I've networked with people. And so one of the things that I would say is, well, how do you know? How do you know when you're ready to franchise? So you've got this great concept and people are starting to say to you, is this a franchise? You'll start hearing that more and more. And what will happen is you've got this one concept. I would say that it should be up and running for a minimum of a year, but that's just me. Others are cringing right now, but I'm going to say a year. You want to have a profitable business, and then you open up a second location, perhaps, and it's in a different area. It's not, 10 minutes away from where you are. But you want to know that it's going to be something that can work across the country, and that it's not just going to be something that works just in your area, but then it's going to fall flat in the Midwest or the Southeast or, et cetera. So can it operate across the country? Because you want it to be replicatable. So that's number one. Number two is it profitable? That's really important. Number three, you no longer can be working in the business. You need to be working on the business, helping to scale this business and helping it to grow and become from this fledgling, one little business into possibly an empire. And if you're behind the cash register or you're back in the kitchen cooking, that's not going to be possible. So you need to be working outside of the business and looking at what that bigger picture is. And then at that point, that's when you start to create your business plan for, well, do you want to franchise? Or do you just want to focus on opening up additional locations in and around your region, which is perfectly fine. Open up a second one, and then people will start coming in. I wish you had one in this area, and then you open up a third one, and then you open up a fourth one, right? That's one way that people run their business. Some people never franchise because they don't want to lose any kind of control, even though you're the business owner and you create this document that is a process and an operations manual about everything that needs to happen for your business. But there are business owners that think, if I franchise, the quality is not going to be the same. Something about my business is not going to be the same if I franchise. That goes against everything, by the way, from the franchise model standpoint. But that's what some people feel. So you have to be very comfortable to say, okay, what is it that I want my business to be? And what do I want it to look like? And how big would I like it to be? And then you would talk to a franchise development team. And that franchise development team will help you to understand whether or not your business is a viable opportunity for franchising, and then help you for figuring out how to get your business to become a franchise by creating a document called a franchise disclosure document, and helping you with every other facet of what it means to get this business now to scale and to make it go across the country. And then you would look at joining up with various broker networks. Hopefully you would join my broker network, which is International Franchise Professionals Group, so then I can show your fabulous concept to my candidates. But that's the short answer for how do I know if my business is ready to franchise, and how do I go about doing that? Okay, so franchising is a process. And we talked about the fact that this is a turnkey, business. That's what the idea is. You think about any of the big name businesses that are out there, and yes, you're going to go right to food, but I'll challenge you, think about something that's not food. Think about fitness. Think about Planet Fitness. If you've ever been into any kind of fitness model, that is a franchise, and there are many of them out there. No matter where you are in the country, that business looks exactly the same. From the outside, the signage, to when you walk in, the lighting, the paint, in fact, it even will go to how the equipment is put out on the floor, in what sections that it's put out, where the desk is, all the signage in the building, where the bathrooms are, everything. The entire layout is the exact same. That's a franchise. So that if you're traveling, and let's say you travel all over the country, and you're a Planet Fitness member, and you go to your local Planet Fitness, whatever state or city that you're in, they're going to look the same. And you know exactly what to expect. That is a franchise. And there's comfort in that. There's comfort in that you know exactly what to expect. Now, for the true entrepreneurs out there, that's exactly why they cannot own a franchise, because they don't want that. They find that to be too constricting. And because they're literally told everything that they need to do. And they're bustling with ideas, and they're bustling with, well, instead of putting it this way, we should put it that way. No, that's not franchising. Now, you can absolutely belong to a franchise system, and they may have a franchise forum or a franchise advisory council, and you can make suggestions about, changes that you think would improve the system overall. But when it's a big, large concept that's already been around for a long time, they're probably not going to be making too many changes. Now, on the flip side, when it's that newly emerged franchise just coming out, those first owners are going to have a seat at the table. They are going to be able to have more of the ear of the CEO and the corporate team to help to shift and guide and gently steer what's happening for this concept as it gets bigger and bigger, as it scales, possibly. That's what happened in the franchise that I owned. And there were things that I would come to them about, and I would say, hey, can we make these changes? And some things they would say yes, and some things they would say no. And I had to accept that and understand it because it's a franchise. But again, there is comfort that everyone is doing the same thing. And so you do get, as a franchise owner, this breadth of information and sharing and brain trust with the other franchise owners. I always say, if you're a franchise owner that is not speaking to other owners, you're already doing it wrong. Because you don't have to be completely isolated and siloed. It's already lonely enough owning your own business and you're just kind of out there by yourself, and maybe it's a business where you don't even have employees and you're just trying to figure everything out. Why not enlist the help of others that are in your system and talk to them? Share your good days, share your bad days, share your experiences, your best practices. That's the beauty of being part of a system. So it's there for you, but a lot of times the owners don't take the system up on that. Just like they may not take them up on various training that's offered. And then the franchisor says, you know, they're not really doing well, but they haven't been to a training session in a really long time. Or a coaching, maybe they put you with a coach and you just ignore your coach. I know better. I know how to run this business. I've got it from here. But it's offering to you. All of that is part of being a franchise owner, so why would you not want to take them up on that? That's the beauty. When you're that solo, that entrepreneur that's out there with your own concept by yourself, you don't have that ability. Maybe you have a mentor that you speak to, but they're not in the same exact business. So they're helping you and listening to you, but it's a much different thing when another business owner is in the exact same business as you, right? So you want to share in that. And that's what you get when you're part of that system. So I said earlier, you know, don't just go to food. I challenge you, don't just go to food when you think about franchising. There is, 4,000 franchises out there. There are endless industries for the taking. I just recently found out that truck stops are franchises. I never knew that. We've got every conceivable industry that you could think of out there. And yes, there's food. And yes, food takes up a large swath of the franchising, the quick service space. But there's also franchises that are in the pet industry, in fitness, which I mentioned just earlier, in senior care, automotive, cannabis, all different types of concepts. And there's new ones being thought of and created right now that are in the pipeline that I didn't know about just yesterday or last month. I'm going to be finding out about them in the next couple months, which is super exciting because the industry is always changing and it's always adapting to what the needs are of the consumers and of the businesses that are around us. So that's the bulk of the questions that I wanted to cover in this week's episode. And I hope that you, the audience, found this helpful and engaging. And if so, then I'll make sure that I compile more questions in the future and I'll come back with another episode and we'll dive into those again. But until next time, I'm the owner of Milestone Franchising, Lisa Linkowsky. And you can find out more about me at milestonefranchising.com. And I also host Franchise Focus. And it airs every Friday, 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Until next time, thanks so much for tuning in.